Hello, I'm Sherrelle Walker, and this is the first podcast of the Brotherhood Initiative at the University of Washington in the College of Education in Seattle. Today, there's been so much discussion about social justice, equity, economic opportunity, bias and discrimination, and so much more. Our ethnic and racial diversity give us the chance to provide a better environment in which to address systemic obstacles to equal opportunity. So what needs to change? We've had a group working with men of color to support them throughout their years at the university. This has made a change in their lives and their future. This is the Brotherhood Initiative. I'd like you to hear from one of our Brotherhood Initiative graduates. Please meet Marquis Wright.
Hi, my name is Marquis J. Wright. I graduated from the University of Washington in 2019. I'm the first graduate of the Brotherhood Initiative. And when I'm reflecting back on my participation in the program and how it added to my undergraduate experience, it really added a sense of validation that I never really had sought out or knew was there otherwise. Before the program, I had never been in a space where it was, black and brown men, and just black and brown people looking at just our advisors too, being able to talk about their experiences in a really unmitigated way in academia. I didn't know that there was that sort of solidarity to be found, and that solidarity and that validation, academically and socially, it allowed me to navigate the spaces of academia with much more ease, knowing that I was not alone, and knowing that there was people who could really share my experience, and that sort of was invaluable for me, and I take that with me with my career, with my internship. I take that with me in all of my ambitions and endeavors, knowing that I can take up spaces and navigate spaces, knowing that I have that support network behind me. And when it comes to sort of what I've been doing for the past year, since I graduated a year ago, I've been working as a producer and a writer. I've been working at KCTS 9, the PBS affiliate of Seattle. And I recently was Emmy nominated for my work as an associate producer in the commercial broadcast department. And right now, I've just been sort of riding that momentum into doing what I want to do, which is make equitable content that really represents marginalized people in the television space and in media. And so I've been doing a lot of freelance work, a lot of plays, doing playwriting, and continuing on with just making media and working. And yeah, I think that when it comes to all my experiences and just really being a creative, I feel like I'm able to do it so much more unapologetically, knowing that the BI has been there to be sort of that safety net, but also the same network that just tells you to go for it and tells you to really be your most sort of organic self, knowing that you have a support network who only wants that for you and only wants you to be unapologetically proud of yourself.
Thank you, Marquis. To learn more about the Brotherhood Initiative and what this means to all of us, I'd like to introduce Dr. Joe Lott. Joe, help us understand what started the Brotherhood Initiative and what has it been accomplishing?
First, let me talk about sort of the origin of it. I think around 6 years ago, I realized that I wanted to do something different, or feel like what can I do to sort of play my part in advancing, education and pathways for boys and men of color. So, I had two young boys, and I wanted to create a roadmap, to life for them. So I started looking at data at the University of Washington, sort of where I was, to see sort of, what can I do? And I realized that there are 5 groups of young men that had low graduation rates on campus. That includes Black, Latino, American Indian, Pacific Islander, and Southeast Asian. So then I tried to delve more deeply to understand sort of, why is this the case? Why do they have lower graduation rates? And I think it's a combination of factors, particularly when we think about, predominantly white institutions. And we have to remember that academia is a microcosm of society. So racism, marginalization, other forms of oppression are prevalent. And this is how it plays out in lower graduation rates for men of color. You know, education is supposed to be the great equalizer by providing teaching, mentoring, exposure to new ideas, and professional opportunities that increase chances for folks having access to the American dream. And unfortunately for men of color, this idea of a high quality education has eluded them because the strongest predictor of a quality education is your zip code. And many men of color live in economically segregated neighborhoods that tend to include majority low-income households, which means that they're likely to attend an under-resourced and underperforming school with less qualified teachers. So as a consequence, you know, upon graduating from high school, you know, these students have less access to the best colleges and universities, which happen to be these highly selective, predominantly white institutions, which were designed to be a springboard to middle-class jobs and careers. So when some of these young men do, you know, make it to these highly selective institutions, they're met with other issues, many of which have nothing to do with academia, like psychological issues that emerge from poverty, you know, trauma, and racism. So when they get to campus, they're met with unfortunate, you know, incidents. And the research sort of bears this out when they talk about, you know, men of color are more likely to feel isolated or underappreciated, undervalued, marginalized, as well as lacking a sense of belonging on the campus. So I wanted to see how can I gather a group of people from these cultural groups to address, you know, some of these issues. So, you know, I thought, you know, three things would be crucial for getting this done. You know, one was getting adults in the system working better together. Two was using research to practice approaches to help adults in the system sort of do their job better. And three, to scale up best practices to benefit more in the system. So throughout a year-long process, about 20 or so practitioners, students, and faculty gathered together, you know, just to plan or to understand sort of what are the problems with our young men of color and how we can collectively leverage our resources to create, you know, a solution. Because I didn't want to start with the solution before defining the problem, which I've observed as common in the academy, and I didn't want to do that. So after a year, we came up with a cohort-based approach for the Brotherhood Initiative, whereby students would come in and we sort of wrap our arms around them and let them know that they're wanted, that the University of Washington needs them. They have to take 2 year-long classes with us as freshmen and sophomore, where the freshman year, we just help them understand how do we navigate a large, predominantly white institution, along with help promote academic skills, self-confidence, understanding, you know, their family histories. We do oral histories with our students where they can get a sense for the, you know, the educational experiences of their family, but also when they hear it from their classmates, it just gets this collective understanding of the struggle for education, you know, for people of color. And that really gets them excited and inspired, you know, to want to do more. The sophomore year, we try to help them get into their first choice of major and get the most out of the major, along with networking, because networking is really key when you come to these predominantly white institutions. You know, for example, at the UW, I would say there's a significant portion of students who come in, they're connected to different resources, they have networks, they know what they're going to do. Then there's another group of students that have no clue and really aren't connected. So our job is to make the campus smaller for these young men and create pathways to success, based on what they want to do. And I'm extremely pleased with the results thus far of our cohort. So we have an average cohort GPA of 3.6. We have almost a 97% persistent rate. Our students are involved in undergraduate research. They do study abroad. In fact, I actually started a program in Rome where many of our Brotherhood Initiative students have come. It's amazing to see, students who've never traveled the country, traveled outside the country, never had a passport, and they get to Europe and these other places, and there's so much confidence with navigating these foreign spaces that when they come back to University of Washington, they just have so much motivation and drive to sort of want to do better. Because like, if I can navigate, England or France and get lost, then coming back to University of Washington is a piece of cake. So it's been good to see that. They also lean on each other. We try to create an atmosphere where they can bond, with one another. All the research says that sense of belonging and bonding with peers who look like yourself, are really key in promoting graduation rates. And that's what we do. We talk to our students about creating a community, and not just, a network. Because when it's a community, that takes on, different expectations of being there for one another, looking out for one another. And that's what our students are telling us that they appreciate. They appreciate going into a classroom where, the teacher doesn't necessarily look like them, or they don't see other students look like them. But when they see that Brotherhood Initiative student, their fellow cohort mates, it makes all the world of difference to them, particularly, psychologically. We also pay a lot of attention to mental health. We have strong connections with the counseling center and other offices on campus. So this is really a collaborative effort. And we were intentional about doing this because, historically, student services, other parts of the campus tend to operate in silos, and they don't really, come together in a collective manner to really focus on a holistic experience for students. So I'm happy that we've drawn from research to practice approaches, including multiple campuses or offices across campus, to make this a successful initiative. Now I'd like you to hear from one of our students.
Being a member of the Brotherhood Initiative was a difference maker for my 4 years at the University of Washington. During our underclassmen seminars, I developed a greater sense of identity and attachment to my family and my culture. I began to appreciate my role as one of the few men of color in the predominantly white spaces I found myself in, and I was constantly comforted and advanced by my cohort full of peers that either looked a lot like me or a lot unlike me, but our shared purpose towards a greater future for ourselves, our communities, and for each other helped propel me further in times of need. I'm now working for AlphaSites, an investment research firm, where I help venture capital funds perform due diligence, portfolio operations, and deal sourcing. I'm currently working from home, but will move to San Francisco when public health restrictions get lifted. And while I came across this job at a career fair, the resume I took to the employee booth was filled with opportunities that I felt the confidence to take on based on my strong start at UW, in large part due to the Brotherhood Initiative. And whether it be through academic and career mentorship, facilitated resources and opportunities, or personal development, I constantly felt that the BI faculty and scholars were wholeheartedly supporting me.
Yeah, I'm very excited about the future. One of the things that I've learned over the past couple of years is that we need to pay more attention to addressing this income and wealth gap. So I'm happy to say that we've established great relationships across campus, particularly the Foster School of Business, to integrate entrepreneurship components. We've been working with some of our volunteers and venture capitalists and some serial entrepreneurs about the best ways of integrating this over a 4-year framework. So I'm really excited about this entrepreneurship piece. I mean, also, because this is a research to practice initiative, we are confident in the infrastructure that we've built so far. So we want to scale this within the University of Washington and across other institutions, because one of the reasons we wanted to start this, because there's at least a 10% graduation gap between men of color and their peers at predominantly white institutions that look like the UW. So we're looking forward to developing principles and practices for other institutions to adopt. But also I'm excited to, reach back into middle and high schools to, promote this college readiness piece to, create a wider pathway to college. We have many youth-oriented programs, but we don't have many for men of color that work with them in middle school and high school, and with our Brotherhood students as mentors, with helping them being connected to post-secondary opportunities. So I'm really excited about that. In addition, we're going to launch the Sisterhood Initiative. So we initially started just by understanding men of color because of their low graduation rates. But as we learn more about men, I've also learned that women of color face sort of similar issues, not necessarily with graduation rates, but with accessing professional networks, particularly once they leave college. So we're excited about working with others across campus to develop this Sisterhood Initiative. And then last, we just want to grow our program and add more students to our cohorts. It's unfortunate that we have to turn away a lot of students, every year, and that just is just very unfortunate, and it shouldn't have to be like that. So we're working steadily, increasing our capacity with growing our cohorts, and I'm just excited about what the future has to hold for the Brotherhood Initiative, the Sisterhood Initiative, this youth initiative, the entrepreneurship initiative, and all of this, in service of helping promote education, professional entrepreneurship opportunities for students of color. The best story actually comes from our students. So now I'd like to introduce you to DeAndre GARCIA-STUBBS.
It was really nice, especially coming from a small conservative town where I was maybe one of 3 Black individuals in all K through 12 school system, and identifying as multiracial with being Black and Mexican. The BI had really provided that support group for me. I had a lot of different mellow colors I could relate to, that I could find a connection where I found my home. And so I think it was very beneficial and impactful to how I was able to be successful, not only academically wise, but also in other sectors of my life. I started off my senior year very stressed, not knowing how my rent for the next month was going to get paid. But I knew that I had a support system with the Brotherhood Initiative that was going to be able to make sure that I was going to have the roof over my head and food in my belly. It's just been a tremendous support system. So both academically, personally, and emotionally, I know that the Brotherhood Initiative is someone that even now, after I graduated, I still had plenty of opportunities to become involved with them, and knowing that there's a support system that I can reach out to no matter how far removed from the University of Washington undergraduate I am. And so I was able to meet a lot of different people. I became very connected. I enjoyed the opportunity to be able to mentor the other cohorts that came behind us as well. I'm very passionate now about toxic masculinity, and that's something that the Brotherhood Initiative introduced to me. We were able to break that down. What does that mean? And knowing that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay for males of colors to express our emotions, to talk about emotions. And we really got to break down like the stereotypes of what it doesn't mean to be a Black male, what it doesn't mean to be a male of color. It's okay for you to cry. It's okay for you to let your emotions out and speak. And so from small things like that have truly transitioned and transferred to my life, from being able to be a better sibling, a better significant other, a better friend, to be able to know that it's okay to ask for help when it is coming for my schoolwork or in my job, and knowing that like asking for help, it does not mean that you're weak. It does not mean that you don't necessarily know what you're doing, but it's more of knowing that like you can be vulnerable and knowing that like you're not going to be able to do everything yourself. Because oftentimes I feel like we are pressured as just students of color in general, regardless of your gender or your gender identity, that we often are having to do things ourselves, especially growing up as young students. We don't have that support system. We don't have individuals in our primary school who are taking an interest in us like the Brotherhood Initiative does. Currently, I moved here to Phoenix, Arizona, where I'm teaching 7th grade math. And at the same time, I'm getting my master's in secondary education through Arizona State University. And so all these connections that I have developed right now, post-undergraduate and grad school, has all been part and due to the Brotherhood Initiative and all the individuals who've been a part of the Brotherhood Initiative. So I can't thank the Brotherhood Initiative enough. I can't express enough how much and support the BI has been to me. And so I would go back and I would encourage like friends I had to apply for the Brotherhood Initiative. I talked to individuals from my hometown. I was like, hey, like, I heard you going to the University of Washington. Like, you should look into this program called the Brotherhood Initiative and apply for it.
Today, we're also happy to have Blair Taylor with us, and Blair is a partner at PriceWaterhouseCoopers. They have a Workforce of the Future platform, and Blair is leading the focus on equity, diversity, and inclusion. Blair?
Well, first of all, Sherrelle, thanks for having me today. And let me say there's probably no more important topic than the work that you all are doing with the Brotherhood Initiative. So thank you for having me. I think that this notion of pipelining talent and connecting to those young people who need access to opportunities is one of the most important things that corporations and leaders can do right now. There's nothing more powerful, quite frankly, than engaging with young people, helping them to establish a network, mentoring them and creating opportunities for them. At PricewaterhouseCoopers, where I'm now a partner, for example, we've announced several initiatives, one of which is to allow our every single person in our organization, our 55,000 person organization, to engage on projects and opportunities with nonprofits that focus on the issues that are plaguing and facing our communities right now. And so organizations and firms and companies need to react in the right way. This notion of building a program that creates mentorship, that creates networking, it is a timely thing for us to be pushing here, and particularly here in Seattle, where I'm located, but all across the country. And then I'd add to that, quite frankly, this kind of initiative helps to reset expectations for our young people about what's possible. And there's a lot of research out there today that shows that if you can raise the expectations of a young person, if you can expand their vision of what's possible for their life, their ability to achieve goes up exponentially. And I think that's another piece of what the Brotherhood Initiative is doing, has done, and will do for our young people. And that is truly fantastic. I also believe that, an explicit focus on young people of color, especially in the African-American community, is called for right now. We're facing some troubled times in the Black community, obviously, with the death of Mr. Floyd and all of the recent events that have happened, even up to and through the last couple of days. This is a trying time. And so an initiative that explicitly says we're going to focus on and uplift members of the Black community is again, very timely and very important. And the last thing I think is just, relying on business to help. And how can business get involved in something like this. And I mentioned what PwC is doing, but this is an era that we're living through now where business has to engage. They have to think about the talent that's coming through the system and how it's going to affect and impact them tomorrow in the years ahead. And I think many forward-thinking business leaders are considering exactly that. And so it's very, very timely in terms of the discussions that are going on at the C-suite level, in boardrooms, about D&I and about how do you increase the minority and underrepresented populations of your workforce. And I think this initiative ties directly into that. And so I'm excited about it from a corporate perspective as well, and what it can mean to sort of the future of accessing talent and creating pipelines of talent for business, which is a very germane topic right now among many of our clients. So for all those reasons, Sherrelle, I think it's the right initiative at the right time, and excited to be a part of it.
This is the time to focus, support, and invest. If we want to change the future for men of color, then we have to begin with opportunities like the Brotherhood Initiative. We are already making changes in the lives of men of color today and in the future. Learn more about us on our website, brotherhoodinitiative.org, or you can contact us. Change is now. Change is up to all of us. Join us, support us, and invest in us with your human resources as well as your financial resources. We are looking toward the future with the Brotherhood Initiative. Be a part of it. Thank you.